Let me just say something that might surprise you. A woman can love you and still take you for granted. Yes, really, it happens more than you think. And the craziest part, we usually don't even realize we're doing it until you're gone or until you finally stop chasing us. That's when everything shifts. That's when the silence gets loud. And that's when we start missing the man we swore we didn't need. Here's the truth. Most women aren't evil manipulators. We're emotional, we're impulsive, we chase connection. But we also test boundaries. Sometimes we take your consistency for weakness. Sometimes we confuse your patience for a lack of options. And sometimes we just assume you'll always be there until you're not. See, when a woman starts to feel like you've stopped orbiting around her, when your energy pulls back, when your presence fades, when you're suddenly no longer accessible the way you were, it flips a switch inside her, and that's when the missing begins. But by then, it's not about what you're doing. It's about how she feels in your absence. This video isn't about blaming women or bashing them. It's about telling you the real truth from a woman's mouth, so you can stop wondering what went wrong and start understanding how this dynamic actually plays out. Because yes, there are signs, there are subtle psychological moments when a woman starts to miss the very man she overlooked. And if you're a man who's been taken for granted before, or if you're pulling back now and trying to understand what she might feel in the silence, this is for you. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Not from a textbook, but from how we actually think, how we actually feel when we realize we might have lost a man who wasn't so replaceable after all. 1. It hits when it hits. When you stop reaching out, you stop reaching out. You want to know when we start missing you. It's no. When we're arguing. It's not even when we're giving you the cold shoulder or acting like we don't care. It's when your name stops showing up on our phone. You stop checking in, you stop texting, you stop sending those little updates we used to pretend we were annoyed by. And that's when the silence creeps in, not outside, but inside us. See, most women are used to being pursued. We're used to a man proving himself, showing up, being consistent, even when we're hot and cold. And when a man keeps showing up like that, we feel powerful. We think we've got him wrapped. And in that mindset, it's easy to start taking him for granted without even noticing it. But when he stops, that's when it hits. At first it feels like confusion. Why hasn't he messaged me today? Then it turns into checking the phone more often, refreshing your feed, watching your stories just to see what you're doing, even if we never like or comment. We feel that shift in your energy, and our ego doesn't know how to handle it. And don't think it takes long. A few days, maybe a week of distance is enough to make a woman who once said she needed space suddenly feel anxious about what you're doing without her. We start wondering, did he meet someone? Is he mad? Did I mess up? Is he really done? What you have to understand is when a woman pulls back or acts like she doesn't care, it's often a test, a way to see how much you'll fight for her. But if you walk away instead, it shocks her system because deep down she expected you to hold on. And when you don't, she starts realizing just how much she relied on your presence, your voice, your attention, your reliability. The things she once overlooked become the things she starts craving. You stop reaching out, and that's the moment she starts realizing what she's losing. And the worst part for her, she can't just pick up where she left off because now you've changed. You're no longer chasing. You're no longer giving your energy so freely. And suddenly, she's the one who has to wander. That shift, that's when the missing starts. We remember the things you did that we didn't appreciate too. We remember the things you did that we didn't appreciate. You know what's wild? We don't miss you for the big gestures. We miss you for the little things, the things we didn't even realize mattered until you stopped doing them. It's not about the expensive dinners or the over-the-top surprises. It's about how you used to text us good morning without fail, how you noticed when we were tired, even when we pretended to be fine, how you'd show up not with flowers but with our favorite snack, or you'd remember something we said in passing that no one else caught. We remember how you made us feel safe, heard, chosen. But here's the thing. At the time, we didn't always value it. We got used to it, comfortable, maybe even a little entitled. We assumed it was just who you were, the nice guy, the one who always cared, always gave, always showed up. And when we were wrapped up in our own moods, frustrations, or selfish moments, we probably made you feel like none of that mattered, like your efforts were invisible. But once you're gone, those same things echo loudly. We start missing that steady, calming presence, the way you supported us without asking for credit, the way you forgave us when we weren't our best. And we feel it not because you stopped doing it, but because no one else does it like you. We begin comparing every new man to you. And here's the honest truth most women won't say. When we find ourselves around men who don't show that same emotional depth, who don't pay attention, who don't see us the way you did, that's when the regret sets in. Because now we get it. We realize we didn't just lose someone who liked us. We lost someone who actually cared. We lost someone who gave more than he got. Someone who was emotionally intelligent, aware, present. And that kind of man, he's rare. It hits us when we're laying in bed scrolling rough our phones, seeing something that reminds us of you. It hits when someone else gets annoyed at us instead of patient. It hits when we try to open up to someone new and realize it's just not the same. You taught us a kind of love we didn't even know we needed until it was gone. And by the time we understand what we had, you're already out of reach. So yes, we miss you. But more than that, we miss how we felt when we were with you. And if you've ever wondered if she thinks about all those little things you did, she does more than you know. 3. We start playing it cool, but inside we're spiraling playing it cool, but inside we're spiraling. When we realize we've taken a good man for granted, we don't always admit it right away. In fact, most of the time, we try to play it cool. We'll act like we're unbothered, post a few living my best life stories, maybe even start casually talking to someone else, not because we're over you, but because we're trying to look like we are. It's a defense mechanism. We don't want you to know that we're thinking about you, that we're replaying conversations, wondering if we pushed too far, if we mistook your love for weakness, and worst of all, that maybe we lost you for good. Inside, we're spiraling, quietly, secretly, but we won't show it. That's part of how women cope with regret. We compartmentalize. We try to bury it under distractions, attention, validation, but none of it actually works. Because the thing is, when a woman feels emotionally connected to a man and loses, that it doesn't just vanish. It lingers. It haunts. We'll see you moving on, glowing up, maybe even doing the things we said we wanted. But now you're doing them without us, and that stings because now we realize it wasn't that you weren't enough. It was that we didn't recognize your value in time. But even then, we won't rush back, not right away. We'll wait. We'll see if you reach out. We'll hope you still care, still check, still wonder. And when you don't, the panic sets in. We start asking ourselves things we never did before. Was I too? Cold? Did I expect too much? Did I make him feel unappreciated? Does he hate me now? And it gets worse when you go silent because now we don't know where we stand. And women hate uncertainty, especially when it comes from a man we assumed would always be there. See, we often assume we have time, that you'll be there waiting, that we can pull back and you'll chase, that we can test your patience and you'll stay. But when you don't, when you actually stop showing up, stop calling, stop caring, That's when we start losing it inside. We might pretend we're unbothered, but trust me, the silence is louder than anything you could say. It forces us to sit with everything we ignored, all the ways we mistreated you, all the things you did that we brushed off. And the longer you stay silent, the more we realize he really might not come back this time. That's when missing you turns into regret, and regret turns into a wake-up call. Not every woman gets there, but the ones who truly cared, even if they didn't act like it when they had you, they feel it deeply when they lose the ego battles, the emotion. And emotion always wins. Eventually you. 4. The ego battles. The emotion and emotion always wins eventually. Let me be real with you. When we start missing a man we once took for granted, we don't just miss him quietly. There's a full-on internal war going on inside us. One part of us is screaming, "You messed up, you pushed away a good man," and the other part is saying, "No, stay strong, don't show it. He should have fought harder." That battle between ego and emotion, it's brutal. The ego wants to protect us. It tells us not to admit fault, not to apologize, not to make the first move, because if we do, it feels like weakness, like we're losing power. And a lot of women, especially the ones used to being in control or getting chased, will cling to that power even when it's costing them the connection they actually want. But emotion doesn't stay buried forever. The truth is, we do feel it. Missing you hits us in waves, sometimes at night when everything is quiet. Sometimes when we see something that reminds us of you, sometimes when we're laughing with someone new and suddenly realize it's not the same, that they don't make us feel how you did. That's when the emotional part of us starts pushing through. We begin to admit things to ourselves that we were too proud to say out loud, like I expected him to read my mind. I wanted him to chase me, not realizing he was already tired of proving himself. I acted like I didn't need him, but I actually did. And when those emotions start stacking up, the ego begins to lose ground. But here's where it gets tricky. We don't always show that emotional shift right away. You might not see it on the outside. You might think we've moved on, but inside we're wrestling with what we feel and what we're afraid to admit. Sometimes we'll test the waters, like watching your stories, liking an old post, sending a "Hey, hope you're good" message that doesn't say much but really means "I'm still thinking about you." It's not always that we expect a full reconciliation right away. A lot of times we just want to know that we can reach you again, that the door isn't shut, that we didn't lose you completely. But if we sense that you've truly checked out, that you're emotionally gone, that your energy has shifted for real, that's when emotion fully breaks through the ego, and what was once just missing you turns into that pit in the stomach feeling that women don't talk about out loud. Regret with no return. And believe me, no woman wants to sit in that. It's painful. It's humbling. And it makes us wish we could rewind everything we said and did when we thought we had all the time in the "when we see you glow without us, it hit." It's a different world. 5. When we see you glow without us, it hits different. You want to know when we really start to miss you? It's not always right after the breakup. It's not even when it kicks in. No, it's when we see that you didn't stop living your life. That moment when we realize you're not just sitting around feeling sorry for yourself, waiting for us to come back. That's when it hits. I remember this one guy. We had been on and off for a while, and honestly, I thought I had the upper hand. He was kind, patient, emotionally grounded, but I treated that like it was safe, not sexy. I thought he'd always be there. Then one day I looked at his Instagram, and it was like a different man. He looked lighter, happier. He was out at events, traveling, hitting the gym, smiling in that way he didn't when we were together. There was no bitterness, no passive-aggressive captions, just peace. And I hated it. Not because I wanted him miserable, but because I suddenly realized I no longer had that power over him. I had let a good man go, and now he was shining without me. I can't lie, I panicked. I wanted to reach out. I even typed a message a few times and deleted it. I kept thinking, was I really that forgettable? Did I matter at all? Here's the thing. When a man pulls away, we might roll our eyes, but when a man levels up, we notice. Women always notice when a man stops chasing and starts glowing. It creates a psychological shift in us that's hard to ignore. Suddenly, we're not the ones evaluating you. We feel like we're being evaluated. And the worst part, when it's clear you're not trying to prove anything to us, that's when it cuts the deepest, because women know when a man is showing off to get our attention and when he's genuinely in his zone, moving on, rebuilding. When we took you for granted, we assumed you'd still be in the same place emotionally. But when we see that you're not, when your energy changes, when you're calm and unbothered, when your silence has substance, it forces us to face something we were trying to avoid. We were part of the problem. And once that thought sets in, it doesn't leave quietly. We start thinking about what you brought to the table, your consistency, your softness, your strength, all the things we didn't value in the moment. And now we're watching another version of you, the healed, evolving version that we don't have access to anymore. It stings. That's when the missing begins. But not the light kind. It's the sick to your stomach kind. The kind that wakes you up at night and makes you wonder how you could have let someone like you slip when you stay silent. It forces us to feel everything away. 6. When you stay silent, it forces us to feel everything. Let me say something you probably don't hear from women often. Silence from a man who used to care. It's not just no contact. It's psychological warfare in the best way possible, because here's what really happens behind the scenes. When we take a man for granted, it's usually because we assume he'll always be around. Whether you're soft-spoken, forgiving, or just emotionally available, a lot of women translate that as safe, which unfortunately can be mistaken for expendable. But when that same man goes quiet, when you stop checking in, stop reacting, stop trying, it doesn't just create absence, it creates tension. It makes space for reflection, and that's dangerous for us because the silence becomes a mirror we can't look away from. Without your voice in our lives, we're forced to hear our own thoughts, and that's when the real questions start creeping in. Did I mess this up? Why hasn't he called me? Was he really that into me? Wait, is he over me? And trust me, those thoughts spiral fast, because once we sense you're no longer emotionally attached, it doesn't feel like peace to us. It feels like rejection. Even if we were the ones who pushed you away, even if we walked first, your silence starts to feel like punishment, even though you're not doing anything but minding your own business. And here's what most men don't realize. When a woman knows she took a man for granted and he doesn't reach out, she doesn't feel empowered. She feels replaced. And that fear, it grows quietly daily, because we start watching to see if you've moved on, checking if you've changed, asking around in subtle ways, looking for your name online. And if we don't find anything, it drives us crazy because we know what that means. You're gone. Not temporarily, not waiting, gone. And deep down, every woman who's taken a man for granted fears one thing, that you'll finally realize your worth without needing her validation. So if you're in that silent phase right now, wondering if she's thinking about you, the answer is probably yes. But more importantly, it's not just that she's thinking, it's that she's feeling. She's sitting in a space she's not used to, one where she's not in control, where her feminine influence doesn't sway you anymore. And when a woman feels that kind of emotional disconnection from a man she once dismissed, that's when regret shows up. Not loudly, but quietly and deeply. So don't break the silence just because it feels uncomfortable. You have no idea how powerful it really is, or how much clarity it's creating in her. 7. If you let her treat you like you're replaceable. She will like you're replaceable. She will let me be blunt here, because sometimes you guys need to hear this from a woman who actually respects you. If you allow a woman to treat you like an afterthought, if you keep showing up for her when she clearly isn't showing up for you, if you keep proving your loyalty to someone who doesn't value it, then you're teaching her that you're replaceable. And I promise you, once a woman believes that about you, she'll start acting like it's true. Now, I'm not saying women are cruel or heartless, but we're emotional, intuitive, and when it comes to dating, extremely reactive to how a man presents himself. If you're always available, always agreeable, always less forgiving, even when we cross lines, we stop feeling your value, and instead we start seeing your desperation. And that's a really unattractive energy, because here's the uncomfortable truth. Women don't respect what we can control. If we know you'll be there no matter how we act, we stop feeling that pull to be our best around you. You become easy, predictable, emotionally cheap. We don't mean to take you for granted, but we do. And by the time you realize it, it's already a dynamic one you've silently allowed. But here's the good news. You can change it, and not by chasing, not by demanding respect. You change it by withdrawing your energy where it's not being reciprocated. You shift the power by holding yourself to a higher standard, not as a tactic, but as a lifestyle. You show us through action that you know who you are and that you're not afraid to lose someone who doesn't see your worth. And trust me, that change, we feel it. We notice when the energy shifts, when you stop chasing, when you start moving like a man who knows he brings value to the table and you're not begging anyone to sit with you. So, if you're in a situation where you gave too much and she started treating you like an option, it's time to stop blaming her and start checking yourself. What part of you kept hoping your love would be enough to make her appreciate you? That's the part that needs healing, because the minute you realize that you have the power to set the tone for how you're treated, everything changes. A woman can't take a man for granted who doesn't give her the chance to let that sink in. Conclusion. Here's the truth. Most women won't say out loud, "We don't miss you because you were nice. We don't miss you because you did everything right. We miss you when you make us feel something we can't replace." That's not always about looks or status or being the perfect guy. It's about how you hold yourself. It's about the emotional imprint you leave behind when you finally walk away. Not stops trying to prove his worth and simply lives like he knows it. That's when we start remembering him. And if we took you for granted, that shift doesn't just sting, it haunts us, because now we know we can't get that version of you back. Not unless we rise to meet you, not unless we become worthy of you. So, if you've been hurt by a woman who didn't see your value, don't chase closure, don't chase her. Become the man who doesn't need to be seen because he already sees himself. And believe me, that is the man we miss. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been taken for granted by a woman you gave your all to? Did she come back, or did you walk away for good? Drop your story in the comments. I'll be reading and replying, because these conversations matter, and I respect every man who's ready to grow from the truth.